Hello everybody, and Jess here, and welcome back to Ooyukiumi no Kaina, episode 10, technically the penultimate one. I say technically because we do have to remember that a movie is coming, so technically it's going to be episode 11, that's the penultimate, and then the movie, although we don't really know what the movie is going to be about. The movie might very well be a post kind of a story, not necessarily a sequel, but more of a direct continuation. From what I gather from those episodes that we've seen, and from previous episode, and from what I see in the first frame of today's, and from how many episodes are still left, it wouldn't surprise me if the anime series ended with the resolution of the battle between Atlant and Valgia, and the movie was strictly an adventure trying to find the Great Orbital Tree, resettling there, perhaps restarting whatever terramorphing machinery or whatever else there is. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if that's what they were to do. But wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if it wasn't what they do whatsoever. Although if the movie were to be a direct continuation, it's more likely the series would be full 12 episodes and then the movie would be treated as a sequel. With 11 episodes in a movie, the movie is more like a multi-part final episode, like Attack on Titan final episode part 2 revision 7 season 8, right? We'll see where it's going. We'll see where it's going. So far, where it's going is towards the demise of Atlant, I'm afraid. Because in the previous episode, the Admiral wore some VR goggle kind of thing with a skull attached to it, or perhaps a skull with VR goggles attached to it. Not VR, rather like AR, like Google Glass with a skull on top. And apparently that allows him to control the robot we see in the first frame here. Badly beaten up robot, overgrown with, whatchamacallit, with barnacles, with a missing arm, with a missing ear, antenna looking thing, but still formidable. I don't think acorn guns will be of much use against it, and that's gonna be a problem. As far as I'm concerned, I think the only way to possibly damage this robot is Kaina's laser cutter. And we'll see if it's gonna see any use or not. The thing with the laser cutter having some higher energy output settings, that's been foreshadowed quite a while ago, pretty much near the very beginning of the season. So we'll see if it's gonna see a payoff, or are they going to keep it until the very movie that's going to end the series. We'll see. What else? Something. The Atlantean general, I think, is his rank. I'm not sure. The blue-haired guy, whose name starts with O, and I can't remember it, went on to attack Valgia directly, because it's fairly shabby. It was very easy to get on board and defeat any and all guards en route. There weren't many to begin with. They even seized the bridge, but alas, it turns out the bridge doesn't really matter. It's just an empty wooden tower, possibly either a bait or a trap, or maybe it does see some use, but currently the Admiral is somewhere else, so there's nobody on that bridge. And he was, of course, ambushed by Amelothe and her people. Amelothe, who decided to turn back to Valgia and defend it, despite the Admiral being against it, despite the Admiral saying, who's there on board of Valgia who will be missed? Right? He doesn't care, he doesn't give a fuck, he just wants to wage war. He doesn't do anything he does for the good of his people. He just wants to use this giant robot and have some fun. That's just who he is. Amelothe might be swayed. We'll see. And of course, our heroes, Kaina, Liliha, and Iona? No, wait. What was Liliha's brother's name? I have it noted down, so why am I struggling if I can just read it? Yaona. Liliha's brother, Yaona. Our trio found the goblin in the underground part of Atland, and turns out it was a map. It was a map of the Great Snow Sea that tells them where they are, where's Kaina's village, where's the Great Orbital Tree, and there's the trench. The Great Sea Trench? No. Was it called a trench? I think it was called a trench. That they will have to somehow go through. You'd think it's not going to be an issue, right? Because there's no difference whether you're sailing in the shallows, like in real world, or you're sailing over the Mariana Trench. It's all the same, right? Because rules of buoyancy, the amount of water displaced by your craft is, right, all that stuff. It doesn't matter how deep the water is unless you start running into the bottom of the sea with your hull, but that's of course going to cause issues. But apparently in this case the trench is something impossible to traverse through. Unless you have a really big snowfoil. Yeah, snowfoil. Which they do, which they did find alongside the map. So now all that's left is finding a ship, stealing one from Valgia, or perhaps getting one from Amelothe should she decide to help them, outfitting it with that snowfoil, and setting off through the trench towards the Great Orbital Tree that might be all of their salvation, both for Atlanteans and for Valgians. Yeah, that makes me think even more that the movie will be that adventure towards the Great Orbital Tree, because yeah, because in 2 episodes they wouldn't be able to do all of that for sure, and the war between Valga and Atlant isn't going to extend throughout the movie as well. It's a fairly cut and dry situation where Valga has straight advantage and Valga is going to win straight up. So I don't know, we'll see. Why am I even trying to speculate here? We will see what happens in due time. But right now what we're going to see is episode 10 of Ooyukiumi no Kaina, of course. We will need to go about it in chronological order, after all. And I don't think the movie is out yet, so there's also that. Okay, so we're gonna watch it now. You're gonna need your subs, of course, to follow along with the timer. I'm gonna need my sound to hear what's going on. And I'm also gonna have to ask you guys for your support. Support the channel if you want monetarily. Patreon, Throne links in the description below. Or not, share my content, spread the word, costs you nothing, helps a lot. And with all of that out of the way, we can start watching episode 10 of Ooyukiumi no Kaina in 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, starting right where we left off. Well, more or less, to the giant rising from the water, from the sea. Now it's builder. In the previous episode it was architect. Okay, what can it actually do though? It has a claw, so melee attacks are going to be devastating. Does it have any ranged capabilities? Any laser cannon or something? If so, then Atlant is doubly fucked. Yeah, the only way to stop it is to stop the Admiral. And he seems fairly defenseless, sitting in his throne, wearing the VR headset, playing some Among Us VR. I wonder if that's how they're going to solve that problem. If they are actually going to go after the Admiral. How would they know that that's what you have to do, though? As far as they're concerned, it's just a gigantic beast that Valgens control. Amelothe knows. That's about their the only way that our heroes can learn about it, and that's about the only person that can go solo against the Admiral. Can just board his ship and stab him in the back. And of course, the Admiral's ship is safe because it's not only behind other ships, but also once Valgia's enemy, sees this giant robot appear, they're gonna focus their fire on that. They're gonna forget about sinking the ships. The Builder, aka the Architect. Okay, so it's just going to dismantle the fences and throw some wood. Those are big trunks. I thought they're much smaller. He doesn't sound like he's having a good time. Nope, no surrender. Yeah, he has his honor. He is stupid, sure, but has his honor. Also saving his people and what? Having them die of thirst in Valgia. It's not like Valgia is a great place to live. It's not like by surrendering you suddenly get some better prospects at life. No, you're gonna get fucked either way. Some great choreography there. Yeah, that's also a good question. Okay, so we acknowledge that Amelothe's armor is an ancient relic. Wouldn't surprise me if the Admiral found those at the Great Orbital Tree. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And yeah, that thing on the wall is also a map. Yeah, that's not really doing much damage to the architect. Yeah, show him the map. Could it be foreshadowing that Atlant falls and then we use the Great Orbital Tree to bring a good end regardless? You think they're gonna hide? Of course not. Yeah, they're coming with you. I mean, what if you have a chance to go and find the Great Orbiter Tree and you're not there because you're hiding in the Great Hole? Is the Liliha going to set off on her own? She's not gonna manage. She's good, but not 3 people good. Also interesting that his right arm is also damaged. And the robot's left ear antenna was damaged, and his left eye is covered by an eye patch. Could it be that he had to modify his body to match the robot in order to be able to control it properly? Jump? Use a rope? Climb on the growth on the wall? Something. You have the laser cutter, right? Like, cut a hook in the wall, hook into it with your rope, and just go over like that. Okay, it's crawling on its threes. That's not gonna do much, though. Right, what became of Orinoga? Okay, he's not doing well. Someone's in trouble, and of course, Kaina is going there to help. Oh, I was afraid for a moment they're gonna split in 3. Yeah, quite heavy. Laser cutter time. Rope and pulleys. Laser cutter. Output not strong enough. It's kinda gonna crank up the output. It's gonna take a while. Okay, he's gonna crank up the output. And now, like knife through butter. Crank it up even higher? No, no need. Okay. Last moment rescue. The victorious music kinda spoiled the fact that they managed. But it was to be expected, of course. Okay, so they're splitting up further. True. Liliha bringing the flag to the father is just meaningless because he has the exact same flag in his throne room. So, what's she trying to show him there? So, Kaina is kinda needed. Okay, bombardment continues. So at least they can get rid of some ships. Delivered. Interesting wording. I think it genuinely was meant as a construction machine. Delivering cargo by throwing it, for example, right? He's going to notice the flag? Maybe not. He's just going to snipe the king? Or is he going to try to snipe Liliha? Sniping Liliha. Okay. Do you have any projectiles at... Okay, you do. Pieces of underwater rock. Or, I don't know, roots or something. I was expecting Kaina with max power laser cutter just vanishing that thing. But no, we're not getting quite this kind of a heroic rescue. She's alive at least, so... Right, where's the green mushroom? Where it's needed. There it is. Right on cue. It's not physical. Okay, we have a confirmation. Where is it leading her? Okay, now the father also sees it. Is it going to do something to the robot? The fuck is it doing? Waking up something else? That looks like a tentacle? Yeah, it uses the ascender. Okay. We heard of the ascender. It was always the ascender. Are we getting a Deus Ex Machina win? Well, it's not doing much, so... yeah, you can't really win against power armor. He's doing surprisingly well, though. Gotta give him that. Spring came, and so did the bugs. There's a commotion. What else? The Ascender, and suddenly everybody raises up against the oppressor. Yeah, you can't really smack water or whatever kind of a fluid it is. Your arm is just going to go through. Or maybe it's actually going to do something. I take it back. A certain Roman emperor would like to know that you can win with the ocean. Rain. Oh, like actual water? Like water? Or weird ocean fluid water? Okay, I'm assuming the robot is now damaged somehow. Maybe water got into the circuitry or something? So, that ascender didn't really do much, did it, huh? He's going to use you as a projectile, what else? Or your ship. I guess that also works. Assuming the crew of this ship survives being thrown. And that's how planes were invented. Oh, explosion. What was there that would explode? So the light really didn't do much, as it turns out. What was the deal with it then? I guess a minor morale booster for a moment. I don't know. Yeah, it sees you. Hide between buildings, if at all possible. Okay, hide in the ED. That also works. Man, where did those 20 minutes go? I didn't feel the passage of time during this episode, honestly. So, I even more think that I was correct in my assumption that the main series, the episodic series, is going to deal with the war with Valgia, and the movie is going to deal with finding the Great Orbital Tree and restoring civilization, restoring the planet somehow, maybe. We'll see. Maybe not. But yeah, by episode 11, either Atlant will fall or Valgia will fall. Some sort of a resolution of this battle, of this war, has to come in episode 11. Because you cannot have one more episode and a whole ass movie about just the final battle in a war. Can you? It wouldn't sit well with me because it would also leave so many threads unfinished. Interesting. I was honestly expecting the war to be done as early as in this episode. When I saw the Ascender, I thought that might be it. The Light is somehow going to defeat the Admiral, but apparently not. Apparently we have a little bit more runtime in the show, and what we have now is the same episode again. We're gonna watch it again, of course, as always. And let's see. It's huge and it's moving. It's a living creature. Not quite. OP. Interesting thing in the opening. In the opening, the big robot they face off against has like a humanoid face. I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it now. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to... Yeah, oh. Maybe I will be. Where was it? There it is. Right, this is humanoid. That's a humanoid robot, or a giant, or whatever. The one that the Admiral has isn't humanoid. It has purple lights in the middle of its face. This one has a glowing orange eye. So either it's symbolic, or it's something that's going to be there in the movie. I don't really have any other explanation. The Builder. Just being able to throw pieces of wood. And the Admiral is sounding more and more sickly every time he appears. Now he's just straight up Darth Vader, breathing heavily through a respirator. As long as we have that thing, Valga cannot lose. Yeah, but what if you just defeat the Admiral? Right? Like, that's the weird thing to me. Like, sure, you have the architect. Valgia cannot lose. Even Amelothe herself cannot stand up against the architect. And I thought the issue is that the Admiral is like constantly, permanently connected to whatever secret weapon they have, right? Amelothe tries to swing at the Admiral, and suddenly a gigantic hand comes crushing down through the wall and grabs her, right? Something to that degree. But it seems like he has to sit down in his throne, put on the VR headset, there's a whole ceremony around it. So while he's not connected, just fucking shank him. Right? Amelothe has no love for the Admiral. She's not loyal to him. So why wouldn't she have done that? It's not like the Admiral is, maybe he's like a super badass melee fighter, so that even Amelothe with her whole powered armor won't be able to just fence with him and win. I doubt it, though. I doubt it. He has impaired vision. He doesn't have his right hand. What's stopping anybody from just slitting his throat? Really? I find it weird. I find it weird that the solution to all their woes is there, and yet. Oh well, I guess he's the king, so what can I do? It doesn't sit well with me. Especially since Amelothe doesn't sound brainwashed, right? I would understand it if she was fully brainwashed into following every back and call of the Admiral, but she isn't. She isn't. So what gives? They say it's a relic from the ancient times when the sage lived. Probably. You should be focused on saving as many of your men's lives as possible as you can. That's the responsibility of a commander. I mean, he saw what life is like in Valgia. So is permanent starvation and thirst really that much better than death? I mean, kinda. But is it really that much better? I know, kind of hard to weigh it. But it's not like people of Atlant will leave perfect, lavacious, I don't know, good, rich lives under Valgan rule. No, they will be reduced to little more than slave labor. So, right? Some really cool combat. Cool shots, spinny cam. Everything animated on twos. Not on ones. Some really cool shots, really cool wearing of those servo motors in Amalothe's armor. I love this spin. Spin, superhero landing. Yeah, some really cool choreography to that fight. I wonder where the Admiral found that thing anyway. That and General Amalothe's armor, those ancient relics sure as powerful. Calling it now, they come from the Great Orbital Tree. The Admiral was there. He knows it exists. He knows it can solve their problems. But he wants to wage war and he wants to kill people with his new toy. So he's not going to tell anybody. Architect and Amelothes armor come from the Great Orbital Tree. Admiral knows of it. Admiral knows of it. But if everybody was able to live happily ever after with no shortage of water, he would have no reason to wage war. Simple. Soon we'll be able to drink Atlan's water to our heart's content. Yeah, that seems to be the same map, at a glance at least. Also interesting how they have no written word, and yet they have some form of heraldry, right? Those are the symbols of her family. Those white things on red background, and then there's this black shape on blue background. So they have the concept of symbols, just not of written word, which is even more intriguing. We need to go to the father, of course. And of course everybody's going. They're not going to let Liliha go alone, even though in the end it still ends up that way. But yeah, should the king just send them to that great orbital tree, say, hey, you have the map, so go, and go fucking fast. We have like one ship hidden, stashed away, here's the key. You go find it, you come back, and maybe that's gonna change things. And Liliha was there alone, wouldn't be the best thing. So it's good that all three of them went. Right arm damaged, preparing to throw. And there was also a text saying like delivery accepted or package delivered or something along those lines. Sorry, it's late. I'm recording it right before going to bed. There was a line that implied that it treated throwing that wooden trunk as a delivery, as some sort of a delivery system, right? I mean, it would make sense if you had a machine that's capable of throwing construction material across the construction site, you'd probably use it. Why use the wheelbarrow or, I don't know, use a truck or a crane or whatever to move things around if you can just very quickly throw them with a humanoid robot? It really makes me think. The architect slash the builder, I don't know why they changed the translation. I don't know which is more accurate. Maybe you do, so if so, let me know in the comments, as always. But yeah, it's a construction robot. I'm 100% convinced this is the case. And conveniently, of course, they were separated. This doesn't seem like that big of a gap. I think you could... Maybe not Yaona, but I think Kaina should be able to fairly easily jump across. Maybe use that piece of wood embedded half into the wall as a prop, right? Like jump, slide to the side, and then kick back from that and land on the other side of the bridge. Although no, it's not right next to the wall. It's separated by, we don't quite know how much, so maybe it isn't feasible. I don't know. Still feels to me like using a grappling hook or something like that to bridge the gap and go across is a better idea than splitting and trying to find another route. Yeah, it managed to go through the fence. All the defenses at the harbor have been destroyed. Send half the royal guards to deal with the fleet, the other half will attack that monster from behind. Do you have a royal guard, okay, but are they able to deal with the fleet? I'm assuming they use snow horses. I don't think Atlant has any sort of ships besides like a little dinghy thing attached to a snow horse. So will mounted cavalry be able to deal even with just the fleet of Valgia? Even if Valgia didn't have the architect. Never expected Valgia to have such a monster. I wonder if this design is something that appears in other works of the same author. Because the author has a history of kind of interlocking their worlds. Kaina's laser cutter has a logo from of one of the companies from another story of the same author. I wonder if this is also the design in one of those stories. I think we're done. Yeah, sure. I mean, at least you'll be able to fight one last battle until before everything is resolved, everyone lives happily ever after, and you two get married. That's kind of a stupid prediction, maybe, but Ori, Noga, and Amelo, Faye, and up together. I wonder. It would be fairly tropey, but it would be one of the tropes that I actually accept and kind of even like. Enemies to lovers. Not even enemies, just enemies by necessity, really. If Amalothe and Orinoga just met in a bar with a pint of beer, they would be the best of friends instantly, I feel. Of course, someone is hurt. And we are bringing back the laser cutter. Yeah, we are showing increased output, how fast it can deal with a piece of wood, right? So there was a bit of foreshadowing at the beginning, and now, in case you forgot it's a thing, we're going to remind you so that when Kaina uses it at full power to maybe defeat the architect, it's not going to feel like Deus Ex Machina with some MacGuffin, because you remember that it exists. It didn't just come here out of nowhere, right? And of course, they won. They won. They saved the person. Victorious music really did spoil this moment, though. Up until this point, I still wasn't 100% sure they will manage to save that guy, but once the music came on, yeah, he's saved. And now they're splitting up even further, of course. Yona going to escort that guy, and now it's up to Kaina alone to find the Liliha. Yeah, delivered. Not destroyed, not thrown, not hit. Delivered. Package delivered. Because it was treated as a package. Pesky little insects. Pesky bee? Let me have a little more fun. He treats it as fun. He treats war as just a pastime. Yeah, I think this line really seals the deal for me. That even if there was a way to have everybody have enough water to fill every bathtub and every pool and water lawns in California forever, he would not use that way. He would not notify anybody about it. He would not try to go towards it, because that would mean happy people, and happy people don't want to fight. And he wants to fight. He wants enemies. And if everybody's living in peace and harmony, there are no enemies. And he won't be able to have fun. So, of course, he despises such a world. Manages to spot Liliha somehow. Zoom in. Okay, there is quite a distance still between Liliha and the king's tower. Also interesting why he didn't just kill the king instantly. I mean, he's a sadist, that's why. He wants to kill Liliha first, and in a way that her father sees it. Yeah, he can watch his daughter die right before his eyes. Interestingly, as he throws it, it doesn't actually kill Liliha. It just, I don't know, scares her a little. I don't know why. Maybe he actually wants to steer her towards the father, and as soon as she arrives, then kill her? Interesting. Also, interestingly, photorealistic smoke. It kinda sticks out, not gonna lie. Yeah, she survived. I fully expected Kaina to just jump in front of her with fully charged laser cutter, and the thing he throws is just disintegrated. Would be a nice moment, but I don't think if it would be in the tone of this show entirely. Sage, if you really do exist, and right on cue, Hikari appears, and now her father also sees it. Interesting. So far it was only Liliha. It dives and creates a column of fluid, water, apparently. It's the Ascender, the guardian of Atlant, the ruler of the Snow Sea. Yeah, guardian who protects the people of the orbital spire tree. Plenty of stories about it, which is interesting. That it's actually a thing that's been alive in people's consciousness for so long. Written word went extinct, but the stories of the Ascender survived. So it has to be something. And so many mythos around it. You'll go blind. It attacks ships. If you attack it, you will get cursed, right? All that mythology built around it. Even Amelothe recognizes it, and her whole tone instantly changes. Right? It's no longer very hardened. It's bewildered, almost almost whimsical, her tone, right? Oh, it's the Ascender. It really exists, right? Instant change in her tone. Is that a living creature or an illusion? I've heard about the legend, but I didn't know it was true. And it's big. Also, people aboard Valgia just also want to see that. And there aren't many soldiers on board. So they can't exactly stop all the citizens. Feels to me like a bit of a rebellion afoot in Valgia. Maybe, we'll see. The Ascender is big. Again, very big. Apparently, though, just slapping it across is enough to topple it. Which is kinda anticlimactic, not gonna lie. And it burst into water. Fell down. Warning, interference detected. Heavy rain, 102 millimeters. What is this? They are asking because they never experienced rain. Snow, sure, but nothing else falls from the sky. Certainly not water. And apparently, it's actually water. Not snow sea fluid, water. Interesting. Very interesting. But also the whole scene with the Ascender, the whole bit, kind of feels pointless. Honestly, I'm gonna be entirely honest. It feels pointless. It appeared. Everybody started saying, oh, it's the Ascender, it's the Ascender, it's the Ascender. And then it was defeated. And now it is no more. It didn't even cripple the Admiral's robot. It didn't destroy Valgian army. It didn't do anything. Boosted some people's morale, but then it was destroyed, so the morale shattered. Bewildered the Valgians, maybe gave them some hope, maybe gave them that bit of a boost to start a rebellion? Did it though? It wasn't shown. If it did it, it wasn't shown. So what was the point of the Ascender? Like, sure, the robot works a little worse now. Operating error, visual error, right? But it's still dangerous. It still works. It still allows him to lob chunks of shit to Atland. Even lob entire ships. Also, this is the first proper look at the entirety of a Valgian ship. And you can see the snowfoils. Right? Those big knife-looking things. The ones on the sides, I'm assuming, are for stabilization, and the ones at the bottom are for propulsion. Right? We see people on the lower deck use them as oars to move the ship forward. That's a very good look at a full Valgian ship. What exploded, though? That's a question. They don't use fuel. Did he hit a distillery? Someone was making some moonshine right there, and it just so happened to crash into it and cause a spark to explode the moonshine machine, or I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Also, it's kind of weird that we don't really see fire in this show. I just realized. There aren't torches, there aren't candles even. There aren't bonfires. This is one of the only examples, if not the only example, of actual fire in this show. Interesting. And Grandpa is having fun. Must not let them come ashore. Of course, Admiral sees Liliha, dun dun dun. Edie time. Ugh. That was a bit of an odd episode, I'm gonna be honest. I did enjoy myself, sure. It felt like no time has passed at all. But at the same time, there are some things I have to question. Right? What's the deal with the Ascender? That's probably the biggest question I have. What was the purpose of it? What was the reason of its appearance? It's not like it helped Liliha in any way. It's not like it helped Kaina like it used to do, right? It appeared, they stopped, and then the big dragonfly appeared, and it saved their lives. It saved Liliha's life by grabbing Kaina's attention, right? It acted as a guardian for them, and now it just appeared, created the Ascender, and then was defeated. And that's it. I feel like there might be some higher purpose to that. And wouldn't surprise me if episode 11 had some actual higher purpose to that. Perhaps a second Ascender will rise at the last moment and defeat the Admiral. But right now, as it is, I don't see the purpose. Besides raising morale, but then the morale was crashed just as fast when the Ascender was defeated. So the only actual reason for it, the only actual thing the Ascender achieved, if anything, is inspiring some sense of wonder in the Valgians, showing them something nice, something whimsical, some guardian deity to a degree. But is it going to matter in any way? I talked during the episode that don't tell me it's going to be a Deus Ex Machina win. in retrospect, I think I would have preferred the Deus Ex Machina win, where the Ascender just defeats the Architect. I would have preferred it, honestly. But again, perhaps future upcoming episode will recontextualize it. I hope it will. But we'll see, of course, about that. And besides that, this episode was mostly just running away and fighting. Not all that much has happened. We did get bits and pieces of world building, right? That apparently the Architect comes from a time of the Great Sage. Amelothe's armor apparently as well, and it was the Admiral who found that armor and deemed her fit for wearing it, for using it. So that gives us bits and pieces of world building, right? That technology like that was commonplace in this world, but now no longer is, for whatever reason. That remains to be seen, of course. But besides that, yeah, it reminded us of Kaina's laser cutter, told us about the technology of the Sage era, and showed us that the Ascender is a thing. And showed us the possibility of civil unrest in Valgia. Besides that, this episode was mostly just running around and fighting, so I don't really have all that much to say about it. Oddly enough. Feels like a transition kind of an episode, kinda sorta. Like the previous episode had some meat to it, and now there's a fight, so we have to like get through that fight, so let's sacrifice an episode to just on that fight, just on those fights, because there are multiple going on, and then we can deliver some more meat in the finale. Kinda odd. Now, again, don't get me wrong, this episode wasn't bad by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. I did enjoy myself. But it feels fairly barren. And probably the closest to what I would consider a padded episode. Saving that random citizen felt a little like padding. Being separated from Liliha felt a little like plot convenience and also a little bit of padding. The Ascender just appearing, doing nothing, and dying also felt a little like padding. They were important and epic moments. The Ascender, for sure, that was an epic moment. Saving Random Citizen was important to remind us of the laser cutter and its power. Splitting Liliha away, I don't know what was the purpose of that, but I'm assuming there was some purpose for that as well. Perhaps the Admiral is going to be so focused on Liliha that Kaina will get a clear shot on him or something. I don't know, we'll see. But all in all, not all that much to talk in this episode. So why am I talking? I think I'm talking because I'm desperately trying to find something worth talking about in this one, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm desperately trying to find some deeper meaning in the Ascender. I'm trying to figure out some ways to use the fact that Riri has split away from them, to use, I don't know, other stuff that was shown that wasn't entirely necessary. The whole scene with the female servant, it also felt a little like padding. Added realism, a little bit of realism, sure, but it felt like padding still. Yeah, it was a good episode. And I think it might also be a little bit of a downtime of an episode. Well, not really. There's plenty of excitement, plenty of stakes and all that, but compared to other episodes that gave us a little bit more meat, so to speak, this is fairly vegetarian. So a little bit of a downtime before we jump up in the finale and in the movie, I think. Maybe, possibly, probably. We'll see in the next episode. I mean, what can I say? We will. But right now, I think I'm gonna end it right here. Maybe you have something more to say. If you do, say so in the comments down below, of course. No spoilers, please. I know the last episode, the finale, is already out. I'm gonna see it shortly. If you do wanna talk spoilers, my Discord is here, also linked in the description. Feel free to join it. There's a Kaina channel there, Ooyukiumi no Kaina. You can join it and talk about spoilers to your heart's content. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future releases of not only Ooyukiumi no Kaina, but also Benriya, Saitou-san, Symphogear AXZ, and others that will be coming at you in the future. So click the bell icon because I also stream sometimes and you might want to be notified. And support the channel, of course, if you want monetarily on Patreon or Throne, for example. Links in the description below. On Patreon for $10 a month, you can get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear, Madoka, and others, and for just $1, you get a role on the Discord and a place in the credits. And if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, share my content, spread the word. It costs you absolutely nothing and helps the channel a lot still. And now, with all of that out of the way, that's gonna be it from me for today. So as always, you guys do the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers! And here's my wonderful list of wonderful Patreons, and you can be one of them, and you don't need to control a mecha to do that.